When it comes to scandals, the gaming industry is no stranger to courting controversy. Newer headlines focus on abusive workplaces, mismarketed ad campaigns, anti-consumer practices, and more, but the last few decades were even crazier. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are 9 video game scandals that rocked the industry. Number 9. Hackers take down PlayStation Network, exposing 77 million users' private data. It comes to something when one of the world's biggest companies messes up so badly, they literally just have to hold up their hands and give away free products to get back in our good graces. Such was the case in 2011, when an illegal and unauthorized person gained access to around 77 million users' PlayStation Network accounts, including everything from names to addresses, even credit cards and financial information. Sony responded by assuring people their bank balances weren't at risk, but took the PlayStation Network offline for over a week as they attempted to rectify the issue and bolster security. People were absolutely furious about such a breach of sensitive information, yet all Sony could do was offer a welcome back program that gave free games to users, acknowledging a categorical failing on their part. Altogether, the entire debacle cost Sony 14 billion yen or $171 million. Number 8. Activision vs EA over the billion-dollar Modern Warfare case. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was a huge deal. Developer Infinity Ward's co-founders were unceremoniously fired after Activision's top brass discovered they were having secretive talks with EA in regards to funding an entirely new studio. The story goes that they were literally marched off the premises by security following their dismissal, to which they then sued Activision for withholding royalties Zampella and Infinity Ward were owed all along. This was apparently why they were even entertaining other employment in the first place. Initially set at $36 million, this figure boomed to $1 billion for owed pay and damages after all was said and done. Activision fired back by suing EA for going after their employees in the first place, and it took multiple delayed pre-trial hearings before Activision eventually ceded and settled everything out of court. At least all this led to Titanfall 2. Number 7. Microsoft completely reversed everything about the Xbox One. Riding high at the close of the previous generation, Xbox promptly gave all manufacturing duties for the 360's follow-up to an entirely new team. Why? Because they wanted to make a play for your living room. The Xbox One was thus revealed as an all-in-one machine that could control your TV.
TV experience. TV and movies. It's no secret that we love gaming.
The problem was nobody on Earth actually wanted this. It didn't help that the initial reveal featured pre-recorded footage, that the console would require a mandatory online server check every 24 hours, or that it couldn't play pre-owned games without weeks of authorization. After a solid month of nothing but abuse online, confusing PR messaging, and white-hot jabs from Sony, Xbox relented. Every single practice was reversed, but the console was left a broken, unsellable husk. Only now, a whole other console generation later, is the Xbox name flying high once again. Number 6. Peter Molyneux barely acknowledges £500,000 of Kickstarter backer money. Kickstarter is a terrifying thing in the wrong hands, with Molyneux's disastrous efforts in relation to his populist-esque god game Goddess the epitome of what not to do. Starting with a widely released app named Curiosity, it was declared that whoever got to the center first by tapping thousands of times would be granted the role of God in the game. How? We didn't know, but what was clear was Goddess, the game Curiosity was supposedly a gateway to, had amassed £526,000 in Kickstarter-backed cash. That would result in something of a decent video game, right? Wrong. Work on Goddess moved at a snail's pace, with Molyneux announcing the team had signed with a publisher, the sort of thing you don't do when you've already got the cash, as well as announcing multiple new projects, and not saying a word about when the game might be finished, or just what the hell all that money was even spent on. Curiosity winner Brian Henderson revealed that being a god in the game amounted to getting shown around the studio's offices before being bought a pint down the local pub. Almost a decade later, the game is still in Steam Early Access, having had various community/fan members head into 22 Cans offices themselves in an attempt to get it working. As for Peter Molyneux, he just made another game about selling NFTs. Number 5. Fox News labels Mass Effect a sex simulator. One of the last times video games are destroying the youth was wheeled out, Mass Effect has about as much sex and nudity as a Friends episode, but was derisively labeled a sex simulator multiple times by Fox News, who were only just beginning that overall brand feel that runs rampant today. The best part came immediately after an incendiary and lie-filled debate where panelist Cooper Lawrence admitted she hadn't actually played the game, and was simply told beforehand that it was like pornography, before saying in hindsight that there are episodes of Lost more sexually explicit. She was essentially wheeled on to support an agenda that would guarantee engagement through fear of the unknown, an ideology that propped up almost all the media coverage of video games across the 90s. It all ended when EA's vice president Jeff Brown sent an open letter to Fox, where he quite rightly stated their report was insulting to the men and women who spent years creating a game which is acclaimed by critics for its high creative standards. Fox quietly took their finger off the trigger and it was never spoken of again. Number 4. Everything about Gamergate. A controversy that changed the very way video games are covered and discussed, Gamergate got incredibly messy as it was basically two major issues rolled into one. First, there was a lengthy blog posted online defaming indie developer Zoe Quinn, who had in her personal time slept with Kotaku writer Nathan Grayson. So far, fine, until people took it as a jumping off point to imply the games press were literally in bed with the games they review. Alongside this though, we had the rise of Feminist Frequency, a YouTube channel headed up by Anita Sarkeesian, a vocal feminist who shot to the front of the public conscious by addressing many sexist issues prevalent in the industry. As a result of both things at the same time, Quinn started receiving a ton of hate mail, as did Grayson, Kotaku, etc. for the assumed relationships between press and product. It blew up even further into endless editorials about everything from pre-release game coverage versus retail product to how insensitive and barbaric people can be online, especially to women in gaming. Somewhere in here was that initial dissection of how the press wing of gaming operates overall, a conversation that saw many outlets change how they present previews, press trips, windows into gaming journalism, and much more. Number 3. Hot coffee. Rockstar are the masters of there's no such thing as bad press, especially when you need to get as many eyeballs on your games as possible. Enter the Hot Coffee mod, a piece of code left on the disc for GTA San Andreas, which let you do the pants dance with any of the various women you could date. Only this was the PlayStation 2, this was Rockstar, and as the feature was canned during development, all we were left with was awkward mannequin love for all to see. Rockstar had decided against this feature but left the code in the game, only for it to be found by PC players. This riled up the reactionary tabloid types, as not only were the kids being exposed to disgusting violent video games, but now there were hidden sex scenes. A call was put out for GTA to receive an AO rating, which denotes something is for adults only, like retail pornography, which the ESRB actually granted, declaring that sexually explicit material does exist in a fully rendered, unmodified form, despite this not being the case without extensive modding know-how. Rockstar admitted their blunder and cleaned up all future pressings of the disc, reverting the game back to a mature/18 rating. Number 2. Mortal Kombat's GORE leads to the creation of the ESRB. Before the ESRB ratings board, games were thought of as toys, interactive playthings that didn't need to be classified the same way as film or TV. Then came Mortal Kombat, and its blood-soaked visage stared that thought process right down into the ground. This is not for kids, Mortal Kombat clearly said, leading to an impasse for Nintendo's Howard Lincoln, who wanted the game on his company's systems but knew it was too mature and controversial for their otherwise youth-friendly demographic. Cue all manner of discussions around whether games could or should have mature themes, as everyone from industry experts to politicians weighed in on the influence of violent games on the kids. It didn't help that Midway's adverts already featured children in the first place, rather than late teenagers or young adults. After all the uproar and hotly debated points, Senator Joe Lieberman declared that it was up to the industry itself to provide a suitable ratings board for their own entertainment. Thus, the Entertainment Software Ratings Board was born, declaring Mortal Kombat to be the first mature-rated game in history. And number 1, the downfall of the entire Western gaming industry. 1984 isn't just the name of a dystopian novel by George Orwell, it's also the year where video games dropped off the face of the Western Hemisphere. Why? Well, in a move similar to where we look to be heading across the 8th generation when there was nothing but broken titles in sight, the industry collapsed under its own weight just 1 year prior. The means to create a game were at an all-time high, but quality control and general testing was all but forgotten about. Just get it out the door and make some money appeared to be the mandate across every developer-publisher combo, and that resulted in a visible public backlash when 700,000 unsold copies of E.T. were buried in the Mexican desert as Atari spectacularly misjudged the market. Video games as you know them wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the launch of the NES in 1985, which brought with it Super Mario and actual well-thought-out games, not just churned out products aiming to make a quick buck. Say what you like about Nintendo's crazy business ideas over the years, you genuinely have to thank them for prioritizing artistry over all else in gaming. And those are just 9 video game scandals that rocked the industry. Let me know your favorites down in the comments below if there were any others that I missed, and please subscribe to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'll catch you soon.